We will start with public comments on gun stock, and then we'll go into selection of and interview of candidates. Opening the floor to public comments on gun stock and our selection.
Ruth Larson, Alton. My understanding is you have 3 candidates for the open commissioner seat on the Gun Stock Area Commission, and it's requested that you, when you make your decision, whether it's tonight or some other time, that you provide some reasoning behind the decision that you make, which doesn't necessarily involve criticizing anybody, but just saying what led you to choose the person you end up choosing.
Thank you for your comments. Further comments?
Kevin Leander, Belknap. You get an important decision to make tonight. You've got 3 highly qualified people running, or candidates for this position for your appointment. Some of them have extensive background in ski area management. Some of them are business people. All of them, I understand, are avid skiers. They're probably all 3 highly qualified. My position on this is the Gun Stock Area Commission is the board of directors, the representatives of the taxpayers that actually own the mountain. We pay Tom Day, who incidentally would be the county's highest paid employee.
Not a county employee.
He is a county employee. The county is owned by, the county owns the mountain.
Direct your comments to the delegation.
Well, once the audience, once I'm allowed to speak without being interrupted, he's the highest paid employee of this county. Now, granted, Gunstock's not the county. He doesn't say Belknap County, but we own the mountain. It's the highest paid person here. He's got he's very qualified to run the mountain. Extensive management of experience running mountains. Let's put our faith in him. Right now, what we need is somebody on the commission to look after the taxpayers. Oversee him. We don't need to have somebody that's gonna come in and then run the mountain. We don't need another CEO. We gave Tom Day the title president. Let's have somebody look after the taxpayer interests. Be nice to have somebody that knows a thing or two about 91A, because that seems to be a big issue with the commission. But you guys have to vote your own conscience, and I wish you best. But that's my position, is that you remember that the taxpayers own the mountain, and we need people that look after the taxpayer interests, not the mountain's interests.
Thank you. Further comments? Senator Geyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the delegation. First, I'd like to remind everyone here that not one penny of taxpayer money goes to the operations, maintenance, or support of Gunstock Mountain. Not a penny of taxpayer money. Second, I would invite you to look at the results, financial results. How many of you have read the 2021 audit that was completed in August? I'd like to see a show of hands. Not a majority. That is where you find the financial performance under GAAP and other federally required financial criteria of the Gunstock Area Commission that is being dismantled, in my opinion, in violation of the intent of the 1959 law. What you could not achieve through legislation, you're achieving through legerdemain by singling out and replacing commissioners who have done a tremendous job of taking a losing enterprise and turning it into an enterprise that is literally producing over $10 million in gross revenues and millions in profits. If you read, how many of you have read the 1959 law? In that law, it stipulates that the delegation has the ability to allocate 25% their gross income to county. You have the ability to do that. You can't do that if you don't have a profit. The GAC that you're dismantling has produced a program that is very profitable. That is something you should consider. Local representation is very important. I think it is time you bury the hatchet against the GAC. Certainly there are personality issues involved, but the people of this county are sick and tired, and I, as representative of 5 of the towns in this county, am sick and tired of the ongoing war. I am tired of investigative committees that have no specific function, just to investigate. You as a delegation should put stipulations on what's being looked at and why. You don't just form an open investigative witch hunt. You say we want to look at this department because of that. You give me a reason to investigate. Else what we are starting to devolve into is certainly not anything that's democratic. It's certainly a witch hunt. That is not appropriate. I don't think it's New Hampshire, and I think you need to do a better job. With respect to the GAC, there are eminently qualified people here. Okay. I know who I would choose, but you'll have to make that choice. I strongly suggest you choose someone who is independent of the mess that you have created in this county and on that mountain. Thank you.
Good evening, delegation.
Mr. Murphy has been recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I was not planning on speaking, but after that, I think I will. I take great umbrage at the notion that the GAC is being dismantled. Instead, you folks are doing your jobs. You are looking at the right candidates, listening to them all, and then voting for the person that you think will best suit the conditions that are needed right now. I'm going to speak to what my friend at the end there, Kevin Leandro, said. And I think it's true. Bob, you asked about reading the annual.
Direct your comments to the chair.
Bob Guida said, has anybody read the annual audit? Well, I put in an RTK to the Gunstock Commission requesting their budget at the GL line level so that I could better understand what is going on. Tom Day has refused to give that to me. I think Kevin Leandro was right. What you need right now is someone not necessarily experienced in the running of a mountain, but understanding how a government agencies whose only product is snow is actually able to follow the law and be open and transparent. So I will speak in favor of Doug Lambert, who won his case pro se all the way to the New Hampshire Supreme Court on right-to-know issues, in which this former delegation years ago failed to follow. I think the GAC, from what I have seen in the few RTKs I've gotten and the emails, which I am still waiting for more emails, I think it needs to be opened up at this point, and I would strongly urge you to vote for Doug Lambert because he understands, having had time on the Guilford Budget Committee and fighting for open and transparency. That's what this situation needs. You've got the people with the expertise on the ground. What you need is the oversight. And from the little that I have been seeing right now, your overwatchers have become too chummy with those that they are supposed to watch over. I think it's time to have somebody to stand back, stand up, and to be able to say the hard things and make the hard decisions that are necessary right now. Once that has been established, like any government agency in the state of New Hampshire should be doing, then maybe you turn it back for a new commissioner that better might need to express what's going on from a business standpoint. But right now, I see that Gunstock Mountain sees itself as a business, not as owned by the Gunstock taxpayers, and that has to be fixed. And openness and transparency has to be replaced. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Further, Senator Guy, I think we've heard from you once.
I'll wait and go a second time with your indulgence after everyone else has spoken once.
After everyone else, thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gary Kadash. I'm a member of Gunstock Area Commission. 3.5 years ago, when you appointed me to the commission, which I've served with pleasure and honor since then, the main concern was the sustainability of Gunstock. You're going through a period of time when Gunstock had to come to you every single year and ask for a grant, a line of credit in order to get from the end of winter to the beginning of winter during the earning period. I assured you that that could be done, that we could operate in a sustainable manner and not be required to ask for you to guarantee a loan. And I was asked by 3 representatives, why did I believe that? And I said, because I know it can be done, because I've done it before, and I know the formula to do it. It requires a good business plan. It requires the execution of a good business plan. It requires a good vision where people can understand what they're working towards. And all of those things were put in place in addition to redefining the role of the general manager to president and giving him more authority and giving us the ability to attract a person who has more skills than what we had in the past. That's not a slam against Greg Goddard. Greg Goddard did the best he could as a general manager. We brought in a president and general manager who can make decisions with the GAC, and he worked brilliantly with 4 commissioners, and what you're seeing as results. And counter to you, with all due respect, Mr. Sylvia, you must not know what a business is when you write in the newspaper that had nothing to do with the people that are running this business. That is so disingenuous. I'm embarrassed for you, and I'm embarrassed for the delegation. At some point, I would like the delegation to say, thank you. And as far as representing the taxpayers, the best thing that can happen with Gunstock is it to be run like a business, responsibly and profitably and sustainably. And for those of you who were there on the December 4th presentation by Snow Engineering, myself, Brian Gallagher, and Tom Day, and unfortunately, Representative Silver, before you walked out of the meeting, Snow Engineering said, those ski areas that invest in their infrastructure and their people thrive. Those who don't. There are hundreds of ski areas across the country that have failed. There are many right here in New Hampshire that have failed. And unless Gunstock is run like a business, professionally and with a professional manager like we have with Tom Day and Kathy White and his other excellent people that he's attracted to the team, we could lose that golden goose. Gunstock is an economic engine. Gunstock has a $5 million payroll. Gunstock generated, I'm sorry to correct Senator Guida, Gunstock will represent this next week something close to $10 million of free cash flow. That's how much money you have in the bank at the end of the day. When we had to come to you and ask you for $1 million to get from April into November, we didn't have $10 million in the bank. We didn't have enough to do the capital improvements and the $1 million it takes to run it from spring until fall. Today we have plenty of that. And it's to the credit of the management team, it's to the credit of the 4 GAC members that worked with the management team and put in place a business plan, an operating plan, oversaw the execution of it every single month. And Barbara, every single month we published numbers that broke them down by department, something that you and I had a discussion of, that I still hear people saying they don't have it, all you need to do is look it up. So I'm here to say, you don't need a representative of the taxpayers here tonight. You've got representative taxpayers that run a business professionally and appropriately. You don't need somebody that tears it apart. And I would strongly encourage you, there are 2 candidates that are experienced business leaders. I would strongly encourage you to put a business manager back on the GAC. You've got the last 2 appointments, was it 1 appointment, and the last appointment you put on does not have that kind of business management. Thank you.
Further public comment?
Alex, first of all, I want to thank Tom Day and his entire team, the entire mountain, on a successful season. The conditions were great, but when you're picking a person tonight, there's a lot in this ski business that you don't know of. It's called lift maintenance. It's entitled snowmaking and grooming, a winter that could be excellent, or which of it could be terrible or in the middle. You gotta make sure that they have ski area background, either at Gunstock or other resorts. I visited a lot of resorts this week. A couple in New Hampshire that were still open. Everything I heard was hats off to Gunstock. They did a great job this season. What Tom has had to deal with since he has been here is COVID, which was not easy for any business. And I think that Tom and the entire Gunstock team handled the past 2 years during a COVID-19 pandemic very successfully. We all should give them a round of applause.
Further comments?
My name is David Strang from Gilmanton. I'm the Vice Chair of the Gunstock Commission. I'd like to make a couple of comments on what I'm seeing here tonight and also correct several incorrect statements that were
Direct
made.
your comments to the chair.
This is a night for the candidates to present themselves, and the public comment portion should be for people who know these candidates to advocate to you, the delegation, who they think you ought to select. For the second time now in 2 months, I've listened to people get up and not devote their comments to that, but to use their time to attack the delegation. And I think that's wrong. I've seen this twice now. Once when I was asked to make my presentation on January 31st, and again tonight. And I think this kind of behavior is despicable. We should be talking about the candidates who have put their name in the hat in order to be selected. This is their time, not the time to beat up on the delegation. Second of all, I agree with Mr. Leandro's comments that this mountain is owned by the citizens of Belknap County. This is a public mountain, and therefore every dollar it generates is a public dollar. And therefore every dollar that is used to pay an expense is a public dollar. So for Senator Guida to say that no public dollars were used to pay the expenses, that is wrong, and I want to make sure everyone understands that I view this as a public asset, and these are public dollars. And I do not think that it is proper for a sitting commissioner to campaign for one or even two candidates. When Justice Breyer announced that he was retiring from the Supreme Court, would it have been proper for Chief Justice Roberts or Justice Alito to go to President Biden and say, we want you to nominate this person? And once nominated, go to the Senate and say, we want you to vote for this person? I don't think that a commissioner should be campaigning for any candidate. I think that is your job to be making a selection, and I just want to make that clear. I don't think it's proper for commissioners to be speaking publicly as to who they support.
Thank you. Further comments? Senator Guida, a brief second round.
Thank you. Let me correct Dr. Strang. I did not say public dollars, I said taxpayer dollars.
Same thing.
Same thing.
No, not the same thing.
It is.
Well, I'm sorry, but I have the floor.
Mr. Leandro?
Every dollar spent at Gunstock is raised by Gunstock as a business enterprise. The 1959 law was intended to prevent just the very debacle you're walking through right now. And when Representative Silber's legislation was resoundingly defeated in the New Hampshire House, that should have been a statement to the delegation about the intentions of the people of this county. 6 or 7 people testified in favor, 1,500 people testified against. 3,400 people have signed petitions objecting to the course of action you are taking. And those are, I have a stack 2 inches thick of emails from my constituents and also constituents that are served by Gunstock, not in my district. I encourage you to listen to what the people are telling you. Yes, Gunstock is owned by the people. And yes, the voice of the people has been pretty clearly expressed. The witch hunt to try to find something wrong, the ridiculous notion of using 91A to dismantle a commission you couldn't get rid of with legislation. Okay? There are ways to hold 91A violations that are intentional accountable. You can repair the minutes. Forming an investigative committee without a specific purpose is enabling a witch hunt. And I call on each of you members of the delegation to think about specific items you want looked into. And if no allegations of impropriety can be brought forth, then you abolish that committee. We don't establish committees to try to find something wrong. We establish committees to investigate allegations of wrongdoing. There's a difference. We don't put study committees or commissions into place in the legislature that you're familiar with for a reason. We give them guardrails. We give them specific purposes and specific missions. You need to do that with this investigative committee. You need to abolish it. Thank you.
All right, with that, we are closing the public comments.
Crop TV.